Hey, what's up, guys? Bright Raven 3D here, and I'm going to be breaking down one of my daily renders. It is the abandoned Tumblr scene, um, and I'm going to be breaking it down from the lighting to the composition to, the plane that I start off with. Usually, how I kit bash everything. But yeah, so bear with me. This is my first ever breakdown, but I'm going to try my best. So here we go. So usually when I start working, I throw in a plane and I decide what texture I'm going to be using. I start kind of from the bottom up, and I usually have a bright environment to just give me an idea of what's going on. But yeah, so in this scene, I really wanted a nice displacement in the texture, and in this case. I was using Blender Experimental, and so I chose its stone paving texture, and I went into the settings, the surface, and changed it to displacement only. But before that, I also I subdivided this plane a few times. I would say max like maybe 15 times or so, and then I would go into the subdivision surface. Either one's fine. But this is how I've been doing it lately. Subdivision surface, I use adaptive subdivision with a dicing scale of probably like 3 or so, and a quality of 3 to 4. In this case, I ended up applying the modifier, due to the fact that the scatter objects weren't appearing correctly. So I ended up applying it, but the texture came out fine, which is great. So yeah, after I choose my texture and everything, I then start kit bashing. So I know it was going to be an abandoned scene in an alleyway. So I used the Apocalypse kit from Big Medium Small. They're a very wonderful company that make very cool assets. They're very well optimized for Blender. So I dragged in these two walls that are from the kit. And then I dragged in some debris back here to make it look like something fell down here, and then this giant tower to create more of like a scene of background for it. And then before that, I also had these buildings from Kit Bash Future Slums. So I had this completely empty scene here, right? And I was like, all right, what do I do here? And so I just threw these two guys in there, and it filled that empty area. And to top that off, I also wanted to add something up here. So at the beginning, I had these metal pipes that were just kind of like covering everything, but it wasn't the best idea, honestly. It just kind of took away from the realism, in my opinion. And so, yeah. I was looking for another option, so then I thought, all right, let's see where I can implement this. So I used kit bash, cool arcs that were available, and yeah. So before that, this is how open it felt. It felt like it wasn't, like it didn't feel enclosed. I wanted to create this feeling that it was like this kind of tight space that was overflowing with a bunch of trash. So I kind of just added these, and it really helped with kind of selling that feeling. So yeah, so once I set all that up, I already had the Batmobile plopped in here, so he was going to be right in the middle. So that was that, and I'm like, all right, that's set. So obviously I want this to be in the nighttime. Anyway, so you have that set up, so it's very dark. I still have some blue kicking in from the sky texture. However, because I wanted to convey this flash photography feeling, like I just stumbled upon it and that's the only thing that I had, I used an area light for it, and bam, right there. So I have an area light for this guy, and I used about 250 watts for power, which I think is well more than enough, and I had a spread of 65. So because I wanted to use it around 65 degrees, because if I use 180, it would be hitting all these top areas and it would just reveal too much. Also considering that if I'm only using like a phone or just like an old like film camera or something like that, it's only gonna hit like this area, and the spread's only gonna it's gonna be kind of dark up here, and it's more realistic. And yeah, so other than that, once I had the composition set up and the lighting set up and the environment set up, we were golden. However, what's next? We needed to add more detail. So I also, once again, I wanted to kit bash this whole thing here. So I used this debris that came with the Apocalypse kit, which was super, super convenient. It's like scanned. So it really helped with selling that like realism. So I duplicated this same plane, and I just rotated it around to kind of give it that like scattering effect, right? And had it only up here in the front, nothing in the back, because you can't really see in the back. It's gonna be covered. I was planning to cover it with like trash and all that stuff. So then comes the fun part. It's adding all the scattering. So I use Geoscatter, which is for Scatter 5. It's an amazing tool that you can use to scatter a bunch of your objects. You can optimize your scene very, very well as well, and have it display as primitives in the solid viewport. But yeah, so I would select the plane, and then I started deciding, all right, where do I want my, certain things to be? So I wanted to have tire piles, and so I just did like a quick like random scatter around. So if you could see, like in these areas, I was scattered around the plane. And then for the trash bags, I did a biome. So for that, the entire plane was going to be filled with trash bags. But to have more control over that, I used a culling mask. So I weight painted using a vertex group, and I basically decided where I wanted all these trash bags to be. So to be more accurate, so see that these trash bags, I'm just like, so they were all over the place, but with the weight painting, I basically had the control of whether I wanted it to be around the Batmobile, if I wanted it to be in front, if I wanted more in the front, more in the back, whatever type of thing. And I basically just kind of painted all over the place wherever I wanted it to be, right? So yeah, so we go back to object mode, and then I had object heaps, which was also very, very fun. It was just filled with trash, which is a godsend for this scene. And then I weight painted it, and basically I wanted enough trash to be in the foreground to kind of sell that, hey, there's something in front of me, I can't go anymore, but here's a bunch of trash that's like in front of me. And the scattering does all the work, and especially with the biome. As you can see, things are like just all there. They're touching each other, they're not clipping. Yeah, it's a wonderful add-on. And then I also did 2 tires to add more, to kind of create that there's like, to make it more random, add more scattering to it, and kind of fill the scene a bit more, but not too much. So you have enough opening here, and to kind of be like, all right, there's people that have kind of actually seen this before, walk through here. But yeah, that's basically it for that. And there's other tutorials out there that show how to use a scattering system. I don't want to go into that, but yeah, I used scattering options that I had, which was like spattering or using like spray, which is very, very convenient for these, because you can just like very much feel like it's like you're painting. So like you're filling up an entire scene just with objects. So you're spraying all the objects on, or you're spattering them around like very like randomly, but very conveniently. So yeah, after all that was done, I just tried to figure out what I wanted to render as, and I rendered at 1726 by 2160 at 100%. I now normally render at 4000 by 5000 pixels by 75%. So yeah, and I rendered this at 3000 samples because I wanted all of those path traces to go through, and I wanted this to look as realistic as possible. You can see the flashlight and everything, all that specular, and just it looks so crispy. Also, in terms of post-processing, I didn't really do anything to this image. All I did was kind of raise the shadows, or the blacks in post, just to kind of sell that effect. that, it was kind of this like flash photography type of deal. I really wanted to keep it as raw as possible for the render, to really sell that realism, because even if I did any color grading or anything like that, I feel like it would really ruin the whole thing. But other than that, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown. I'll try to do more if you guys want. This is my first one, and I hope you guys enjoy it and found it somewhat useful. I could do a breakdown of my cyberpunk renders. That's what I tend to do usually. But yeah, look out for more time lapses and all. And yeah, check out my Instagram as well, BrightRaven3D. You guys take it easy.